Welcome to the On Your Side podcast. I'm Gary Harper.
And I'm Susan Campbell. Summer's coming up, and chances are you might be taking a vacation somewhere. Maybe you booked a cruise, bought airline tickets, or plan to drive to a theme park like Disney World.
If so, did you purchase travel insurance? Some consumers buy travel insurance when it comes to big-ticket vacations, like flying overseas or booking a cruise. It gives them a little peace of mind just in case something comes up at the last minute and they can't go.
But travel insurance isn't just for pricey vacations anymore. Today, we're talking with Meghan Walch. She's with a company called InsureMyTrip that sells travel insurance. She says policies are becoming more affordable for travelers who want a safety net just in case their travel plans don't work out.
This is On Your Side with Susan Campbell and Gary Harper, an Arizona's Family Originals podcast.
Okay, welcome to the On Your Side podcast. I am Gary Harper.
And I'm Susan Campbell.
You are Susan Campbell.
Yes, that's what they tell me.
How is Susan Campbell today?
I'm great. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. Listen, we're approaching summer,
Yes.
and I really haven't scheduled anything for vacation.
That's good news for me because then I can take all the vacation days I want.
Have you scheduled anything yet?
We have 4th of July trip, long-standing family trip with my husband's side of the family.
That's to Cali, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And then April, we always take a week and go to my parents in upstate New York. So those are our trips.
Yeah. I seem to remember you telling us that before, so.
It doesn't change. It's literally the same every year.
Well, you can't change because,
Got to see family.
You got to see family, and if you don't, they get mad, and and you get in trouble.
And it's fun to see when you get everybody together, all the cousins with the little kids and everything. Super fun.
Yeah, that could be bad for some families because arguments. And maybe it's too much of somebody.
No, we just have a lot of fun together, and my niece and nephew are old enough now that they're the babysitters for my kids and my other little niece and nephew. So then all the parents get to go hang out.
That works out.
It's great.
Yeah, I haven't booked anything, my wife and I, but I mean, we like to take cruises. Have you been on one before?
I've only ever been on one cruise. I went when I was in high school. My aunt and I went on a cruise.
Yeah, where'd you go?
To the Bahamas.
Oh, Bahamas.
It was really cool.
7 days?
No, it was a shorter one. It was a 4-day cruise.
4-day cruise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where's your favorite cruising location?
Oh, you know what? I don't go very far. Cozumel, Puerto Vallarta, usually like the Mexican type scene, but
some beautiful turquoise blue water.
And good food. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Last time I was down there, snorkeling, some of that water down there is just
so pretty.
It's like a fish tank.
Yeah.
Oh
my goodness, amazing.
So many crazy fish. But one thing I always buy is trip insurance, travel insurance.
Okay.
You don't know when something's going to happen. And a lot of people, I always bought it and I continue to buy it for cruises because you don't know if something, I may have an illness, I may break my leg.
Things can go wrong.
So it's always good to have insurance, trip insurance, and that's what we're talking about today. We're talking to Meghan Walch. She's with InsureMyTrip. Hello, Meghan. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
And you're joining us from Rhode Island.
I am, yes.
So do you buy trip insurance?
So I have in the past. And, I recommend it to all family and friends as well if they're, spending a good amount of money to go away.
Yeah, it gives people a little peace of mind. Tell me, what does travel or trip insurance cover? It kind of cover. It's a broad umbrella, correct? Doesn't it cover many things? Well, let's just start with that. If you're going on a cruise and you buy trip insurance, what does that cover?
Sure. So that's a great question. And we have a plan type called a comprehensive travel insurance. And typically that will cover trip cancellation, trip interruption, some baggage if your bags are lost or delayed. It can also offer some coverage for travel delay if, say, you have a flight delay and need to stay overnight in a hotel or purchase food during the delay. So it can help with a lot of issues that may happen. Also, if you need medical attention during your trip, expenses that you may not expect to incur. But again, it can also cover cancellation and interruption if something happens where you need to either cancel your trip ahead of time or return home early.
It covers a lot of things. What kind of cost are we looking at if somebody is looking to add this on to a trip?
So typically with a comprehensive plan, there are going to be several factors that go into the cost. The cost of your trip, how long you're traveling, the age of the traveler. But typically you'll be looking to spend anywhere from 4 to 10% based on coverage level and in the policy that's purchased.
Now, can you buy independent type policies? For instance, like what really got my attention just a moment ago, you said something about plane cancellations and missed flights. If I'm not on a cruise and I'm just flying, I've got 3 legs to get from Phoenix to New York, and I have to stop in Dallas and Philly and all these places. That kind of racks up my chances to have a missed flight or maybe a delayed flight. Can I get insurance to cover that?
Yes, we recommend that you do look at a third-party insurance. So you can come to a site like ours, InsureMyTrip.com, and you can put in your travel details and compare different policies. I know a lot of times if you're booking a cruise, booking a flight, there may be insurance at point of sale. You just sort of check the box within the flow of buying the travel, but that may only cover certain elements of your trip. It may not cover the full duration. It may not cover you for a lot of other things as well. So that's why we recommend looking at an independent third-party travel insurance plan where you can cover the full trip and have choices on the amount of coverage that you purchase.
Your company obviously isn't the only game in town when it comes to travel insurance. So if somebody wants to shop and be the best shopper they can be for travel insurance, what are the things that we should all be looking for to make sure it is a good policy that's not going to give us any surprises when something does go wrong and then we find out, ooh, that's not covered either?
Right. So it's always important to look into the policy. On our site, we list everything out. We list the coverages, and we allow you to review the policy document with what is covered and also what's excluded prior to purchasing it. So you can do your research there. And we also do have a team of licensed customer care representatives that can help you navigate through the available options because, it can be overwhelming. I totally get that. So they're here to help you and, can help you find the right policy to purchase.
Let me bring up my example earlier from Phoenix to Dallas to Philly to New York. Let's say I get stuck in Dallas and my trip is delayed there. What kind of compensation am I looking forward to?
So depending on, the number of hours that you're delayed and, other circumstances, as long as it fits into the, qualifying for coverage on the policy, you may be looking at, if you incur additional expenses, again, for an overnight stay in a hotel or additional food that you have to purchase during the delay, you may be looking at coverage for those expenses. And, depending on what happens, if you have a weather delay that cancels your flight or delays it for an extended number of hours. That may also be grounds for trip cancellation or interruption if it would cause you to, lose out on the bulk of your trip by not getting there on time.
So I'm delayed in Dallas. I'm hungry. I want a steak and a beer. Am I going to get reimbursed for that?
As long as you're not going crazy, there is a good potential to be reimbursed for a meal there.
What do we do? Just submit the receipt?
Yep, you'd want to keep, any receipts for additional expenses that you may incur. So that would be what you would have to submit.
What about the trip interruption? Talk a little bit about that. And I think you kind of touched on it lightly. What is trip interruption and how would I be compensated for that?
Great question. And trip interruption is pretty much if you have to stop your trip after you've already left home. So typically that reimburses you the unused portion of the trip. And also there may be some additional for an emergency one-way flight back home if needed.
That is something that I think that can potentially come up. You know, especially international travel, you go travel, the medical issue comes up. I know that has happened to one of my family members. They were on a cruise. They were getting off of the cruise ship on one of those smaller boats and tripped and fell and broke the wrist and ended up in the hospital in Italy.
Wow.
And my goodness, talk about a trip interruption. Yeah. But those are the things, you know, you have your health insurance that you know how to navigate here in the United States. But if you're on an international trip, all bets are off. You don't know what covers what, who's picking up the tab, and those are the things that can pop up. You certainly don't plan on a broken wrist on your beautiful Italy vacation.
Well, it's the last thing you want to happen, but I've got one even better. One of our cruises down to Mexico, one of the passengers was on a jet ski, just tooling around, and got a little too cocky. Wound up crashing. They had to helicopter him.
Oh my!
Yeah, to a hospital. So can you imagine
the bill that goes with a helicopter ride?
The bill, the helicopter, the medical bill. You're in another country, so I guess a good reason to get travel insurance, right? Megan?
Definitely. And that's also a really great point. If you're traveling abroad, typically domestic health coverage won't cover you, especially if you're on Medicare. So that is another reason to look into travel insurance with medical coverage on it as well.
Susan and I have a coworker here who we were discussing travel insurance with, and she swears by it. And she gave us an example. She and her family went to Disneyland recently, and a relative, I think it was her mother, wound up tripping, breaking her leg, and also one of the baby strollers was stolen, and they reimbursed her for the baby stroller and also the medical expenses that went along with the broken leg. That's kind of impressive.
Yeah, definitely. You hear some of these horror stories that happen during trips, and how travel insurance can really be extremely helpful. It may be that you have to file a claim once you get back home, but getting reimbursement is definitely a huge help.
I mean, is that like a special policy? I mean, to cover a baby stroller. I mean, the broken leg, we've talked about medical expenses, but I mean, items that are stolen, I didn't know about that.
That is typically a coverage on comprehensive travel plans. So again, it's always good to look to see, what items may be excluded and what may have certain coverage limits. If you're traveling with expensive electronics or jewelry, you may have your normal, if your bag is lost and you need to purchase some clothes during while it's delayed, or if things get stolen during the trip, it can be very helpful.
Worth pointing out, too, that some credit cards will do similar kinds of provisions. You know, if you book travel on a certain card, it's worth looking through, the benefits that come along with being that card member to see what they cover, because sometimes they'll cover, the incidentals that you need, the toothpaste, the toothbrush, the things that you don't have if your bag gets lost or something like that.
Lost baggage, I mean, that's a huge headache. But, like you said, some certain credit cards, if you're lucky enough to have them, will cover, say, like purchasing clothes. I mean, you can't go out, and go crazy with a $3,000 wardrobe.
Oh, man.
Sorry, Susan.
Shoot.
But, I mean, it's good to have just in case, you need it.
Well, there are options.
Yeah.
And I think it's also something, I mean, not every single trip, not every single flight, not every single rental car you ever get, you don't have to purchase trip insurance maybe for every single thing. This is pick and choose the things you couldn't afford to replace. It's how I kind of always look at insurance, right? If I can't cover the cost of this giant dream trip to wherever, because this has been my savings for 5 years getting to this point, let's get the insurance. But if this is the $100 round trip ticket that I bought on Southwest on sale,
you can eat that.
Do I need the insurance? Probably not this time around.
Right. Not going to hurt you so bad. So when it comes to insurance, and I want to insure my flight, I'll go back to my example again, Phoenix to Dallas, and I've never.
It's like the worst flight ever.
I've never flown this route before, nor do I want to.
No airline would make you go that many stops to get from Phoenix to New York.
Well, I mean, if there's a weather problem or whatever, who knows?
Don't let Gary do logistics, guys.
So if my airline ticket is costing $1,300, can I expect to pay 3 to 6% of that airfare? Is that correct?
So it would typically be anywhere from 4 to 10% again. And, you have sort of your policies with lower limits of coverage, and then you have ones with super high limits. So it's really, what you're most comfortable with. But one important thing to point out is you want to insure all prepaid non-refundable expenses, as well as from when you're leaving home until you return back home. So you want to cover the full duration, the full cost of the trip that you would stand to lose if you had to cancel.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm ready to book my flight.
I know. Well, I want to go to Rhode Island where she is. I used to live there.
Yep.
And you know how much I love Rhode Island.
I know.
It has such a soft place in my heart.
I can tell when you talk about roadie. How's my roadie?
I love it.
What? Really?
It's beautiful. It's beautiful in the summer.
Yeah.
It's still New England in the winter, but in the summer, my goodness, you go and there's beaches everywhere and there's delicious seafood. I can eat my body weight in oysters.
Oh, wow. Do they have what's called the turning of the leaves?
What?
Like when it turns fall. I mean, and the leaves.
Yes, the leaves do turn and they are beautiful.
You're like,
it's not,
leaves.
It's not called the turning of the leaves.
What is it called? It's
called fall colors, Gary.
Fall colors.
There's not a phrase for that, right?
Well, it's a Harper phrase.
Of course. Oh my gosh.
Do I need to go back to my Matthew McConaughey?
No. Stop it.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's wrap this up before we get there.
All right, Megan, listen, great talking to you. We appreciate you being on the On Your Side podcast, kind of educating us on travel insurance and why it may be necessary. Maybe in some cases it's not. If people want to find out more about you or maybe InsureMyTrip, where can they go?
Just visit us at InsureMyTrip.com. It's a very easy website to use. And just come on there, do some research. And if you need any help, we have our team ready to help.
Hey, do you represent many companies or are you just your own company?
So we are an aggregator for, I want to say, probably around 15 to 20 of the largest travel insurance providers. So we represent, partner with all of them, and work to get you the best policies that are available.
Yeah, kind of like a broker. Okay. All right. Listen, thanks so much for being on the On Your Side podcast and enjoy Rhode Island.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
The On Your Side podcast is produced by Brad Denny. Our audio engineer and editor is Todd Martin. Segment producer is Colin Stanton. And I'm Gary Harper.
And I'm Susan Campbell. If you have a problem you can't resolve, maybe we can. Send us a message through azfamily.com or our AZ Family mobile app. Look for the On Your Side section and leave us a message. Thanks so much for listening to the On Your Side podcast. And if you like it, leave us a review. We'll see you next week.
On Your Side is on Good Morning Arizona every weekday morning at 6:45 and 7 o'clock, and every weekday evening on Good Evening Arizona at 4 and 5 o'clock. You can also catch it on Arizona's Family News at 9 on 3TV every weeknight.